So today's talk is Start Your Healing Adventure. And some of you know my story. I don't want to retell it right now. It's all over the internet, and I feel like our time would be better spent me not really telling my story. But there was a point in my journey where I was faced with a very difficult decision. And a lot of you in this room know exactly what I'm talking about. I had started to read and research about nutrition and about natural therapies and about these ideas that the body can heal and that cancer is a product of a sick body and that if the body created it, then perhaps the body can heal it. And those ideas made a lot of sense to me. And then on the other hand, I had friends and family members and doctors telling me, no, the body can't heal it. You have to have chemotherapy treatments. That's the only hope you have. And the hope is that we can kill whatever cancer cells are in your body and that they don't come back and they don't take over and spread and kill you. And I realized I couldn't do both. These were two very distinct pathways to health. And on one hand, it was, I liken it to a road that was very wide and well lit and full of people. And everyone was going down this road. And it was a short road that led to a train station with a beautiful train that was a comfortable, beautiful, cushy train. Everybody's getting on the train and zooming off. And all their needs are met, and they're taken care of. And it sounded really nice. And on the other hand was a path that was leading into the jungle that I would have to be on alone. And I would be hacking my way through it in the middle of the night. Okay? But I knew that was the path. That was the path for me. And I knew it because that was the path that God had given me. That's the path I'd asked for another path. That was the one that was illuminated for me. But it was very hard to make that decision because I knew I'd be alone. I knew I'd be alone. And I know a lot of you in this room feel like you're alone. And I have to confess something. I understand that, or I believe anyway, that it was a little bit easier for me to take that path alone. The circumstances of my life, I'm an only child, I've always been kind of a lone wolf, kind of always sort of made my way in the world without much support, did what I wanted to do. And so for me that did come a little easier. And I know for others they need a lot of support. And it makes it harder. But you can do this, okay? You can do this. And the important thing is that you start, right? That you take action. You've got to start down that path. Doesn't matter how scary it is. You have to start down that path, the path that you know is the right path for you. And you cannot go down the path that everyone else wants you to go down, okay? You have to go down the path that's right for you. And I see this over and over and over again. I see cancer patients, I talk to them constantly, and they say, well, I didn't want to do chemo, but everybody else wanted me to, so I did, right? My mom, my dad, my sisters, my brothers, my spouse, whoever. Everybody said I should do it, so I did it. And then they come to me and they say, and I wish I hadn't done it, because now I'm worse off than I was when I started. And it's a very sad story. That I hear often. And I don't want that to be your story. I want your story to be the story where you took control of your health, you listened to your instincts and your intuition, you trusted God to lead you into the jungle, right? Because believe me, if He's leading you in, He'll see you through it. He will see you all the way through, okay? And you don't need anyone else to get you through it, right? You just need God. That's all you need. Okay? And believe me, I was very afraid. Okay, so fear is normal. Okay, fear is normal. And some of you have heard this expression, one of my favorites for years. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the realization that there's something more important than fear. Okay, there's something more important than fear, and you don't let fear paralyze you. You don't let it cripple you. Okay, because fear and faith cannot coexist. You understand what I'm saying? They cannot coexist. You're either operating in a position of fear or in a position of faith. Okay? And fear will cripple you if you let that motivate you. And I see it a lot. People make fear-based decisions. I had an epiphany when I heard from a girl with cancer. And it really, she said something to me that was so strange at the time, but it illuminated something I never understood. And she said, "I'm just afraid not to do chemo." You understand that? I'm afraid not to do it. And that was so far removed a concept from me and where I was at that time. Because I was more afraid to do it than I was not to do it. Okay? I was more afraid to do it than I was not to do it. And I was more excited about changing my whole life than I was about suffering under a therapy that might actually make me worse. And so she unfortunately died, and she had round after round after round of treatments, and she got worse and worse and worse. And she and I corresponded over the years, and she would periodically reach out to me in what I believe were moments of clarity and say, "Help, what do I need to do?" And I would give her some advice, and she never took it because there was too much pressure. There was too much pressure from everyone else, and she was too afraid to say no to the people who were telling her what to do. And that was tragic. And unfortunately, that's also very common. Everyone in this room probably knows someone whose name you could insert into that story. So I don't want to see that happen. That's why I do what I do, because I want people to know they have options. I want people to know that they can change their life. I want people to know that they can get well, that the body can heal, that lots of people have done it. Okay? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Start your healing adventure. Okay? And it is an adventure. And whatever you choose, and you're learning a lot at this conference, there's a lot of options, lots of ideas, there's this therapy, that therapy, everybody's got different opinions on their diets, and it's all great. Okay? The good news is there is not one perfect diet. There are principles of health that we can all follow, and every cancer patient I've ever interviewed or met or talked with at length did something a little different, okay? But the principles that they followed, the foundational principles, and I'll cover these in more detail tomorrow, but the foundation is there, okay? And this is what you have to find from this conference. You have to pull the common threads that you keep hearing from everyone, okay? Don't get bogged down in some little obscure detail that one person said that seemed contradictory to some other guy, right? Don't let that stuff throw you into analysis paralysis, okay? All right? It's okay. No one here agrees on everything, right? But focus on the things that everybody agrees on, right? Nutrition is important, okay? Not eating a standard American Western diet, that's a key principle. Let's stop doing that, right? Let's exercise. Let's forgive, okay? Let's forgive. So, there are 3 kinds of cancer patients, and this was a really hard lesson for me to learn. Because in the beginning I thought I wanted to help everyone, and I thought I could help everyone. And I thought this information and my story and this message is so powerful, everyone needs to hear it. And everyone should hear it and everyone should listen to me. And in the 11 years since I was diagnosed, I've had 5 family members diagnosed with cancer. And would you like to guess how many of them have asked me for advice? You win. It was a 0. 0 family members have asked me for advice. It doesn't matter that my YouTube channel has 2 million views. Right? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how many hundreds of thousands of hits my website gets. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how many experts or other survivors I've interviewed. People that have reversed terminal pancreatic cancer. Doesn't matter, okay? No one asked me for any advice. Now, there's 3 kinds of cancer patients. A small percentage, 5, 10, maybe 15% of cancer patients are ready to die. They don't want to get well, and it's okay, right? And maybe some people in this room are in that group. It's okay. If you want to die, I'm okay with it, okay? I really am. I'm okay with it. Your family should be okay with it. Maybe you haven't been honest with your family about this. Just tell them. Just say, you know what? I'm ready to go. You know, I love you. Let's enjoy our time together. And then I'm off. The other percentage of cancer patients, and by the way, of course, you cannot help those people, okay? They can't be helped, don't want your help, and you're just going to make them miserable trying to force them to do something if they're ready to die. Sometimes they're ready to die in a peaceful way, and sometimes they're ready to die in sort of a sad, I'm giving up on life kind of way. But either way, you can't help them. The second group is the largest group, that maybe 60% of cancer patients are what I would say are the conventionally minded patient. And they just want to do what the doctor says. Can't help them either. That's tough. That's tough. Because these are people that really want to live. They've got a strong will to live. They will do whatever it takes, but in their mind, whatever it takes is whatever poison it takes. Okay? Whatever brutal therapy they can throw at me, just like, give it to me, doc. Okay? You can't help them, though. You can't help them. Their mind is not there, right? They're not open. So that leaves us with maybe 5 or 10 or 15% of cancer patients that you can help. Those are the people that are probably the most of you in this room. Those are people that are willing to do with whatever it takes to get well. And I mean whatever it takes. They're willing to change their entire life. Okay? They're willing to stop doing the things that are destroying their life. They're willing to stop doing the things that are making them sick. They're willing to start doing all kinds of new and weird things. Some of them involve enemas. Okay? So I want to ask you, if you have cancer, if you're in this room, do you want to get well? Yes? Good, good. That's the most important question you can ask yourself. Do I want to get well? Do I really want to get well? And I'm so glad someone asked me that. Because at the time I wasn't thinking about whether I wanted to get well. I was just thinking about, I just don't want to die. Right? Everything I was doing was to not die. It wasn't to get well. It wasn't to live. Right? Do I want to get well? Do I want to live? Am I willing to change my entire life? Am I willing to forgive the people that have hurt me? All of them. Forever. Okay? Forgiveness is forever. It's not for this week or for this month or until they piss me off again. Forgiveness is forever. So make a decision to forgive the people that have hurt you and let them go and give it to God. And it's a one-time decision that you must maintain. You have to stick with your decision Forgiveness is like a healthy diet. Healthy diet doesn't work if you only eat a healthy diet for lunch. Okay? Doesn't work if you stick to it for a week, right? A healthy diet only helps you if you stick with it for life. Because at any time, if you go back to your old standard American diet, then you will become at risk to develop a typical standard American disease like cancer, heart disease, or diabetes. Forgiveness is the same way. Forgiveness is a life choice. You have to stick with it for life. And I think a lot of us don't understand that. Got to stick with it for life. Okay? Anybody like that message? All right. So and I'll talk about that more tomorrow. But it's so important. Okay? Your mental attitude and the decisions you're making are so important. Okay? And you need to enjoy the process. You need to love the process. My friend Prudence Sinclair, a woman I interviewed recently on the blog, said something so profound that I think is terrific. And she said, you need to love your medicine. You need to love it. You know, when you love what you're doing, when you embrace it, and when you do what you're doing with joy instead of resentment and reluctance. You know, if you're like, oh, I got to eat this carrot again. I really wish I was eating a Big Mac. Right? That's not the right attitude, okay? And unfortunately, I meet people like that. They're grumbling, they're complaining, they're whining about, you know, oh, having to juice, oh, I have to take these supplements, and oh, right? No, I promise you that's not going to work out well for you. You need to love what you're doing. And when you look at people that are doing chemotherapy, they don't love it. Okay? They hate it. They despise it, right? And this is supposed to be medicine for them, and they're despising it and they're hating it, right? Like with every ounce of their being, they're hating what's being done to them, right? How well do you think that works out when you hate something that's put into you, right? You're fusing that hatred and that emotion with a toxic chemical in your body. It's powerful. So you don't want that. You want to love your medicine. You want to love what you're doing. You want to be thankful and grateful for your life. Thankful and grateful that you can take control of your life and change your life and eat foods from the earth that are rich and abundant in vitamins, minerals, nutrients, enzymes, all these phytonutrients, all this good stuff. I'm sure you've heard people talking about at the conference, right? Stuff that will nourish your body and support you. You know what happens when you take control of your life and your health? You empower yourself. You empower yourself. When you give all of your faith, hope, and trust to a doctor, guess what you do? You empower them, and you lose all of your power. And you become completely helpless and dependent on them to save you, to cure you, to heal you, whatever. And the truth is, they can't do it. They cannot do it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, your faith, hope, and trust needs to be in God first and yourself second, and in a doctor to work with you third, in that order, okay? Because this is your life. This is your life. Do not do anything that doesn't make sense to you, okay? Doesn't matter how many degrees a person has. Doesn't matter what kind of car they drive or what they're wearing, right? Or their relationship to you. You have to make the decision that's best for you. I know a lot of you are here because you're consuming information. You're in the process of changing your life, and you're on the right track. I promise you. You are on the right path. But you also need accountability, and you need support, and you need people to work with you, okay? And this is wonderful. This is the place where you find support, okay? Because you shouldn't have to go at it alone, right? I don't want people to have to be like I was, alone with very little support. There's no Facebook chat. There were no groups. I didn't have any of that, okay? 11 years ago doesn't seem like that long, but I didn't get any help on the internet. There were no support groups in Memphis. It was just me trying to figure this stuff out, reading books, and, without anything like this. Didn't go to any conferences, okay? Zero, none. Didn't meet any other, survivors like you can online now. They're everywhere. This is the best time to have cancer. I'm serious. I really am. You'll never find, there's never been more encouragement and support and resources than there exists right now. It's an amazing time to get cancer. So that's something to be thankful for. But speaking of thankfulness and thanksgiving and gratitude, it's the secret to happiness. If you haven't figured that out, is being thankful and grateful for how much you have in your life. Focusing on all the good things in your life. Yeah, you've got some setbacks. You know what? That's part of life, okay? Obstacles come into your life for a reason. They come into your life to be overcome. Do you understand? They come into your life to be overcome. And sometimes when an obstacle or a trial or an adversity comes into your life, it's to make you stronger, to change you. Sometimes it's to divert you. Imagine you're walking down a path and a boulder falls on your path, right? Well, maybe you can climb over it and it's going to be a fight and it's going to be difficult, right? And you can climb over it and continue. But sometimes that obstacle diverts you onto a completely new path and sets you up for blessing in life. It sends you down a completely alternate road into a place that you would never have been before, and you see, looking back, that was a transformative moment in your life. And I know a lot of you in this room, and you look back and you think about the adversities you've had in your life, and you realize you would not be the person you are today without them, and they made you better. A lot of times problems in life turn into blessings, don't they? Blessings come disguised as problems, don't they? They come disguised as problems. And so, don't look at your situation now. And for anyone, even if you don't have cancer, listen, when bad things happen in life, they're going to happen, right? Let me just play fortune teller. Bad things are going to happen. Right? Life's full of bad stuff, okay? But instead of getting weighed down by it and focused on, this is so bad right now, step back and think about, okay, this is happening for a reason. I certainly don't like that this is happening, but this is happening for a reason, and God is going to work this out for my good. He's going to work it out, okay? That was the first thing that I thought when I was diagnosed with cancer, the very first thing, okay? And I had a moment of faith in the midst of my fear, and that's what it was. And he did, okay? He did. But I'm not unique. I'm a very normal guy. I'm like the normalest guy here, okay? I really am. So, if you talk to me, you'll see how normal and boring I really am. But you're in the right place, okay? This is happening to you for a reason. The reason may be your fault. And guess what? That's okay. I'm here to encourage you to blame yourself, okay? It's all my fault. It's okay. Take responsibility. Because you know what happens? We live in a culture where nobody wants to blame themselves. Everyone wants to blame someone else. And in the cancer community, you know what they want to do? They want to pat you on the head and say, it's not your fault. It's nothing you did. It's just genetic. We don't know why, but it's not your fault. Nothing you did. So you don't need to change anything. right? Just go have a Frosty and a double cheeseburger, and just remember it's not your fault. Whatever you do, don't drink any carrot juice. Too much sugar. Okay. All right. So anyway, I'll just close with this. Take responsibility for your health. It's okay, right? It's okay. When you blame yourself, you actually empower yourself to change. So thank you so much. I'll see y'all tomorrow.